I welcome you to the 9th Lagos Climate Change Summit with the theme Integrating Climate Actions in Lagos State Development, Investment Opportunities and Trade-offs.
Welcome to the Center of Excellence and City of Aquatic Splendor.
During this two-day summit, I believe we will achieve a lot. There is commitment to catch up on the prevailing impact of climate change, and we know some of these solutions.
We'll hope that we can truly accelerate the development of a greener economy for Lagos so that we can achieve the other 16 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations.
So I call on all of us, our esteemed partners today, to join hands with us to build the greater Lagos of our dream. Together we can make the world a better place for the coming generation.
I celebrate Lagos State for being a visionary state.
By the turn of the century, there will be 100 million people in Lagos. The need to invest in resilience infrastructure is pertinent.
For those of us that are here as experts and as policymakers, come up with robust suggestions for the advancement of climate action in Lagos State.
We are a state, a literal state, that's 2 meters below sea level, and we don't want to disappear.
So Lagos is in the forefront in dealing with these challenges of flooding, one of the effects of climate change.
I invite you to lean forward and take the advantage of this opportunity to engage in the climate agenda for Lagos.
Climate actions require significant investments, and it's also a known fact that the economic cost of climate action far exceeds the cost of action. This is why the ministry is forward-looking with our collaborative efforts with private sector in order to maximize the inherent benefits of climate action.
So how can we use Lagos State as an example to other states in Nigeria, but not only in Nigeria, in Africa? For us at UNIDO, UNIDO is the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. We will continue to support Lagos State. Lagos State has proven to be a state that works with partners, that appreciates partnership, and is ready for development.
After working for nearly 3 years in Lagos, I asked myself, what do Lagosians and Dutch have in common? First, of course, is their spirit, their good sense of humor, the entrepreneurial approach and skills, and their willingness to innovate, to ensure Lagos will be a dynamic and sustainable hub, not only for Nigeria, but for Western Africa. And I'm convinced Lagos State, with this administration, will continue to thrive.
The theme here is very much about investment and the financial package. So I would like to mention specifically 2 things which we supply from the Danish government. One is what we call Danida Green Business Partnerships, which focuses on partnerships between commercial and non-commercial actors, which provide a solution or solutions with positive impact on climate change, the environment, economic growth, and people's livelihood in addressing a local development challenge.
Lagos has the opportunity and the advantage of actually being the home to some of the largest institutional investors in Nigeria. And so we can work with them. These people can actually both issue bond and buy bond. But there is a significant amount of money sitting in these banks and other institutions that can be targeted to green infrastructure and transformative climate action.
This is the 9th edition of our summit. We want to thank everybody that has been part of this summit.
I also appreciate our partners, Messrs. Oando Clean Energy, Messrs. IHS Nigeria Limited, and Dangote Cement for their contribution and collaboration towards this year's summit. We look forward to more collaborative and fruitful partnership in future. Well done, and thank you for all the hard work. I wish to acknowledge all participants. Thank you very much for attending. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great pleasure having you to join us at 9th Lagos Climate Change Summit.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore my singular honor to declare open the 9th Lagos International Climate Change Summit. I thank you for listening and for your participation. Thank you very much. Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó, àjùmọ̀ṣe ni. Thank you very much.
Joining this panel conversation, we have Engineer Mrs. Aramide Adeyoye, Special Advisor to the Governor on Works and Infrastructure, focusing on investing in quality infrastructure for green, inclusive, and resilient recovery.
A livable Lagos, I will say, is a Lagos that is green, inclusive, and resilient. And it invests in infrastructure. But more importantly, it invests in people and their well-being.
A direct impact that we all feel about climate change in Lagos is the flooding.
Sustainability is about creating the future now. It's about safeguarding the future. Because now with the air conditioning more, because we actually are working with higher temperatures and things like that. And if care is not taken, it will get worse, and when it gets worse, it will affect us. And while climate change is really a global issue, it is a very local issue.
Lagos is close to the water body. We don't have the latitude or the opportunity of transporting this water anywhere. We are right in the basin.
We must also embrace multidimensional and multisectoral approaches. Climate change is not a problem for the Ministry of Environment. Climate change is a problem for all of us in Lagos.
And this is really what we want businesses to think about, ways of evolving, ways of innovating solutions to still reach your goal.
So while construction must go on, the question for us here is, how do we go about that construction?
We need collaboration, but the thing is, it has to start with a handshake. Lagos has been the trailblazer, we've been the leaders, and we'll keep leading.
We must ensure that spatial and economic objectives of the development process align. When there are economic projects, we must think, what are the environmental benefits? What are the environmental consequences? And where is it going to be placed? And what does it mean for the surrounding area? Some of our key development projects in Lagos are actually risky for the environment. And what mitigating features are we taking to ensure that those very laudable economic development projects don't become a thorn in our flesh?
How traditionally have we been constructing? And what must we do to mitigate, and then what are the adaptation measures that we put in place to begin to decrease some effects that we notice? So for me, first and foremost, what kind of infrastructure that you want to do? If it's green, the better. The first presenter this afternoon session talked about projects that are bankable, the need for the green projects. That is good, and as a state, I think one of the greatest things that we did to ourselves was to do the transformative project like the Smart City project.
And being a coastal city, it gives us that extreme position of what a climate change impact should be.
So it's not that third party come and give me this infrastructure. It has to be everybody. The water cycle, which you call hydrology cycle, requires that the entire surface is a drainage infrastructure. That is the greenest infrastructure that can resolve drainage problem. Not any concrete infrastructure.
And for us at Dangote Cement, our concern really is how can the Lagos State Climate Action Plan, how can it be made sector specific, because they are fantastic plans and policies, but when it comes to implementation and monitoring and tracking, the impact, it becomes a challenge. So this is why more of private sector participation is required. How can this be specific to each sector, and what contributions can be made? Besides the tax credit which you talked about, Dangote Cement has increased, if you're following, our social investment in the past year from 2020 to 2021 increased by 84% on infrastructure. I'm talking about roads, electrification, health infrastructure, and all of that. But our focus, our contribution really to climate change is in the area of waste to energy.
In the plan, Lagos should also be thinking, as we're going green, our neighbor may also spoil our program. So let us see how we collaborate effectively with our neighbors in order to drive this agenda sustainably. That is just a suggestion for Lagos State.
Looking at how Lagos stands with her neighbors.
And I can assure whatever Lagos does, Ogun State will do. Others we need to follow, but we need to start doing something innovative.
So our thermal substitution rate as a result of the alternative fuel that we have included in our operational process is really what I meant by waste to energy. And of course, that provides green jobs. So that is like double-barreled. We are contributing through waste to energy and also waste to wealth.
We must ensure that no one is left behind.
Let's pay attention to the landscaping, the tree planting that started during Governor Fashola.
The efforts to mitigate this climate change impact, part of them is to have a different drainage master plan, and of course to develop a different model city plans, and of course to have a climate action plan and other documents and tools that could possibly enhance the adaptation and mitigation to climate change for the city.
We need right of ways to be provided in the master plans to accommodate these infrastructures. Even in our houses, individual properties, where you are, when you're thinking of building your house, you need to have infrastructure in your house that will encourage that water cycle, which requires that when it rains, a large percentage infiltrates into the ground. It doesn't cost you much. It's just a matter of having that psyche that I can't just seal everywhere that will now distort the natural balance that ought to be. So investment will be possible when the right mindset is out there, that everybody has a role to play, and the physical plans of the state, bureaucracy plans of the state, identify the need for us to provide for green infrastructures all over the place.
If we're also speaking about, how cement is being made, we're going to think about flooding and climate resilient infrastructure as well. So there's obviously a balance between community, the state, the industry, private sector participants, and the individuals. When you finish processing your palm oil and you throw the waste away, we collect that waste and we turn it into energy.
Every project that we have started, let's conclude it. Let's link all these things together and let's get a greener and better Lagos. Thank you so much for being part of this team. We appreciate your contribution. Thank you. God bless you.
People are not really aware about climate change and the effect and the import of what it means to you. Okay, the sea is rising, there's some flooding. What does that mean? We need to really sit down and think about it and then act smart.
Lagos is surrounded by water. The governor has complained about how, we are facing, flood issues, and also the ocean is taking back its land, and how Lagos is working exceptionally for this, against this to happen. But also think around all the different livelihoods who are equally using all these different, natural resources. What are the kind of, framework are we creating for some of these engagements to happen on a structural note?
Whatever you are doing has climatic implications and must be taken into account. And we have to devise ways by which we must access enough resources to make our development climate resilient.
Generally, it is known that if we're looking at issues of adaptation, we know where we are. That to attract funding is a challenge. The communities themselves are also participants. Like we have said, the local government are closer to the community. And one of the things that we have done is to start working with the communities.
I think that Lagos is too much of a business economy for you to ignore the possibilities of a circular economy, of a renewable energy economy, and as well of a blue economy.
I need to bring this to note that we'll be raising the first green bond this year. The plan is there, we are almost concluding it, and it is certain that we are raising the first green bond. Also, for the private sector, there are opportunities for them to actually invest in the infrastructure. But for the private investors, what they are interested in is what is the return on investment, what is the project duration, what are the risks embedded in it. Again, do we have the capability to put all that together? We need to do a lot more in developing the capability of those who are to anchor all those programs.
And in getting this done, we are developing a model. The model we put an average funder on a very comfortable position. And what am I talking about? That if, for instance, you are giving $10 of investment in relation to flood risk, what is it that you will get in terms of the injuries that will be of persons that we would have prevented? What will be the displacement of buildings, properties, and the like that would have prevented as well?
Energy cost today is about 40% of any business. Okay? Now, that business is making a profit today. If you have your cost of energy at 40% to 20%, that is a direct 20% benefit to your bottom line.
Lagos is largely an SME-driven economy. Many of these SMEs rely on a lot of energy for them to move forward. Energy facilities can be created. There are so many business models that can be done around this part. I mean, it's nice to see, Mr. Segun Adaju here, who has, from Consistent Energy and also Rian, who have also developed several types of models that can help SMEs access and as well, transit into renewable energy. There's so much framework that needs to be done around, conducive ways of doing business, from regulations. When you ask the ones who want to engage with water businesses, they might have one complaint or the other. How easy is it for an investor to come into Lagos to do business? How efficient will it be if the right resources come around? And also, how accountable are some of these funds that will also pass through the systems?
The need to drive from government. When I say drive, show the proof of concept. Show the reasons why it's critical. Because we are a followership nation. We follow, we see, and we follow. Do you remember everybody woke up one day and everybody was doing pure water? It was one person that started it now. But in my own house, my own garage, pure water. That's how we follow. So once we follow and we drive as a government and we lead, right, we will see people take up and follow with us.
Everything climate smart is a climate finance. But when it comes to the issue of access, what can you talk about that?
For projects to qualify for green bond, that project must be certified by a third party. There is also a third leg, which is certification done by the ministry, the project ministry, who look at that job before payments are made.
The local government chairman and then those that work with them, they are really key players towards climate resiliency. I would like you to please explain again, how can they play their roles?
We need to bring everybody on board in terms of upscaling, like the capacity, in terms of building more awareness, in terms of, you talked about council. Yes. Can we also create desks across the entire local government?
So we need you to join us in calling on the federal government to play the role of the big brother, the father, in intervening on Lagos matter.
Whatever we are talking about nowadays, in terms of development, should be seen as climate compatible development. So whether you are building houses, you are constructing roads, whatever you are doing has climatic implications and must be taken into account. And we have to devise ways by which we must access enough resources to make our development climate resilient.
I think that with Lagos having that council, again, gives that direct engagement to how private sector can equally grow a lot more opportunity, how the state itself can access finance.
Today, the Lagos State government has put together 40 different projects. Out of the 40 projects, 27 were selected, right? Of the 27 that have been selected, the GCF, Green Climate Fund, have come back and said, by the way, they are nice projects, but they are all scattered. You need to bring it together. Again, holistic ecosystem.
From the state side, we have the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget, who is saddled with that responsibility. We have monitoring and evaluation unit of the office who carry out that.
Because urban planning, environment, drainage, waste, everybody separate. It must be one singular project that makes sense.
What can also support them in coming to the same level that the state can come to in terms of project preparation, capacity building as well. So in other words, for the local government to be able to also access funds, they need to understand all of this.
All these controls are in place. And for me as an accountant, I always rely on somebody who has given me some level of certification. If I don't see those certifications, too bad, I won't be able to do it. But I can assure you that for us in Lagos State, we do not only say that we are the only one who are doing those monitoring. We also rely on third parties, and we believe that we need somebody to check us. If we are not doing it well, we will do it well. We'll listen to them when they control us. Thank you so much.
Youth innovate for climate action. That's the topic.
So we realize that there has to be a strategic plan. There has to be a strategic way in making sure that our youths are involved intentionally. They need to understand why there should be a climate action, why they should participate in it.
My take on entrepreneurship and youth innovation for climate action. See, there's nothing we can do to take out young people. Naturally, young people are made to think creatively and innovatively.
If we're able to give them the access to everything they need, they will scale up.
How can we start looking for, like we said in our team, investment opportunities for young people? And those investment opportunities will not come directly from the government, but what are the institutions that are also doing something in transiting to a cleaner energy, so that when young people are going into the market space or in the job space, they are now thinking, they are thinking about how to produce or provide green jobs, rather than looking at jobs that will not add value to our community. So I think that's one of the greatest outcomes that we young people need to start looking at, in making sure that as we are looking at the green space, we are looking at green opportunities, not opportunities that will not give us a sustainable environment. So my call to everybody, and even the government, is for young people to have access. It's not about we need access, because if there is access, a lot of us will not be looking for job up and down. We'll be able to invent and create opportunity for ourselves. Thank you very much.
Why they should do what they're doing, why there is even climate change in the first place, what is causing climate change, and how they can individually, participate in climate action. So with the Eco Schools project in some schools in Lagos State, there has been drastic change when it comes to waste management, when it comes to tree plant conservation and waste management. They have made, now they know. They can even tell you, we have stories to tell about children who have gone from being timid to being active in school.
We can see some of the examples of these things in Nigeria as a country, that you see a young person below the age of 18 started an initiative, and they are making millions using technology. And even right from the comfort of their home. I have a nephew who became a millionaire at the age of 17 years old. What is he doing? He's into NFT. And this is something that I myself do not know about. And this boy, as an undergraduate, is making a lot of money. So if we can now bridge the knowledge gap of understanding climate change or climate education, and how young people can channel this technology they have, the instinct they have to create a solution out of nothing.
People understand what climate action is. There is a disconnect, first and foremost, while doing this and setting this up. There was a disconnect between waste management and climate change. People can't relate it together. That's one first. I said they have to treat it. There's a disconnect between different aspects of climate change that is not being taught wholesomely as climate change, and then finding a solution or a climate action towards it.
Somebody told me that government are formulate policies. So what do we do as young people? We try to work with those policies so that the kind of work they want to achieve is going to come through us. So I think one of the things that we need to be looking at as young people is how can we start creating more ideas and sharing it with the government so that the government can see the creativity we have.
People already know they have this in them, but they just need to understand the issue and the complexity of the issue to be able to create solutions that will effect change. And then creating a structure.
It is high time we take some of our climate change conference to rural community, in the sense that as we are sitting down here, we're supposed to have a market woman, we're supposed to have a, somebody from, let me use Makoko for example, that is actually directly affected with flooding. Do you get it?